Good afternoon again. My name is Mark. I'm one of the founders of GovDirections and here to welcome you to GovSchool this afternoon. This is a continuation of our series, the Entrepreneur Series, where we're talking about issues of importance to entrepreneurs, and we've been led by Professor Chris Hanks. And Chris is with us by phone today and mobile, a little bit more mobile than normal. We're all mobile these days, but just wanted to make sure you're aware we've had a relaunch of our GovSchool website. So if you do come there, you can see our schedule weekly. And as of right now, this is the last session for the week. There may be one more announced this week. We talk about in one of the specific departments, but we're kind of I'm going to think about that before we launch it. We're moving into a holiday week, so make sure everybody's time is well spent. But just as a reminder, GovDirections is located in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been in this market segment since 1998. Just about 97,000 companies use our services worldwide, and we do a number of series. One of those is the GovSchool and the Entrepreneur Series. And just as a note, you're on mute status. Please maintain that. This is a recorded session. We can make it available to you. It actually will be in our video library at GovSchool. So you just go there, click on library, and you'll be able to see the session located here. It'll be a featured session as soon as it's available. I'll let you give us a couple of hours before it's posted up there. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today? As you're coming online, I'm going to tell you, move to your PowerPoint, and I've got it here and I've got it loaded. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can. Am I coming in okay? Because I apologize for being mobile to this time.
You can, actually. So we hear you very well. So
okay,
thank
good,
you. And so what I've got in front of me, I'm not sure if you can see the screen there, Chris, but we're going to move through, and you've been talking about your beliefs and that we all have, and you can take it from there.
Yeah, no, good. Thank you. And again, I will start with just a quick recap, or at least an attempt to be a quick recap of sort of where we've been and where we're going. And I don't know how many folks we have that are that have been on previous calls and how many are new. But basically, the concept is, what if we went back to the basics of entrepreneurship? What if we focus on the fundamentals, because that's what wins games. And what are those fundamentals, and starting from the beginning? And that's something that I've been doing a lot with entrepreneur groups, is just taking a step back, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed with all the things that have been going on in our world and feeling the stress of all the uncertainty and chaos, and said, okay, when in doubt, let's focus on the fundamentals and let's put in action plans and hold ourselves accountable to moving forward. So anyway, so some of the fundamentals are like one of the three F's of successful entrepreneurship is the word faith. And so how do we increase our belief that what we're doing matters, that what we're doing is significant, that what we're doing will yield dividends, that, how do we increase our faith? And faith is always enhanced in a community of people. That's why I love environments like this, where we can get better together. And by being together, we can give you 10 years of results in 5 years, right? Just the idea of being together in a community of folks who believe and keep coming together, believe the best in each other and expect the best out of each other. So carving out faith, that's a hard thing. It's easy to talk about, but it's a really hard thing. Because honestly, some days my belief is through the roof as far as, how things are going, where I'm going to be, and all these wonderful things. And then some days, my faith is less. Sometimes my beliefs are challenged a little bit by negative events and other things. So we started carving out this word faith into certain statements of I believes, like belief, because there are people who see and then believe, and there's people who believe and then see. And all leaders have to be the ones who believe and then see. Everything that was ever created was because somebody once believed. And so we have to have that belief. We have to see things that other people can't see. We have to say, like, okay, I really believe my business is going to do $2.2 million with a 40% gross margin. I'm going to have, 24 employees, and here's how we're changing the world. I've got to have that belief. I've got to have that faith. I've got to have that vision. So what are some of those belief statements we went through? One of them was believing fundamentally that tomorrow is better than today. Knowing that it's worthy of the sacrifice today and it's worthy of my team's sacrifice today. We're all sacrificing today gladly because we know that tomorrow is going to be better. So how do we do that? And what is that belief made up of? So we kind of carved that out and dissected that and discussed that in some detail. And then we moved into another belief statement, which is, I believe I get stronger every day by facing risk and adversity. We tend to have this really negative viewpoint of risk and adversity. And so what if we change that? Because we tend to think of those as negative things, but those are wonderful things because they allow me to get stronger and wiser. There's an analogy that we did not use, but I'm mindful of this, but like if a caterpillar is in a cocoon and it's going through that transformation to be a butterfly, and when it's time to come out of its cocoon, if we helped that caterpillar get out, we would kill it. The actual process of getting out of the cocoon makes it stronger and makes it survive. So like, I think that might be a decent analogy for the idea of like, okay, all of the struggles that you're going through right now, all of the challenges, all of these things that we wished weren't true, what if those were the things that are making us stronger? What if those are the things that are going to form us, and that 2 years from now, we'll look back and go, gosh, that was a really hard time and I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I'm so glad I did because, and we all had compelling statements to end that sentence. And then we kind of talked about the idea of believing that, I'm an owner, regardless of who pays me, the idea of having an ownership mindset, the idea of owning the results in your life, which can be really, really powerful if you and the people around you thought in terms of, no, I am the owner. I am responsible. I am in control. So we talked about that belief and dissected that. And then we spent a lot of time. This was a fun one for me. Actually, I launched a brand new course as a result of this conversation, a class on courage that I do every Friday. But I believe it is better to choose courage instead of comfort. I can live a comfortable life. I can live a courageous life. I cannot live both. Those two are mutually exclusive. Living outside the comfort zone, doing something that you have never done before, that requires courage. Acquiring knowledge, we spend so much time sometimes as entrepreneurs, and I'm sensitive to this since I spent so many years in academia, the idea of we can acquire knowledge, and that's safer than having the courage to act with that knowledge, the courage to actually do something about it, and being around people who with the courage to act, the courage of doing things, even though we're afraid, even though we're fearful, we feel the fear and we do it anyway. And so believing in that it's better to choose courage instead of comfort. So we dissected that belief, and that was a real fun one for me. Then we dissected a different belief, which is I believe it's better to worry about making a difference, not making money. So many of us are focused on paying our bills. What do I do about money? And some of us start a business or want to grow a business based on, well, I need more money or I want to make more money. Versus, what about the difference that we're making, the significance that we're making? How am I making my customers happier, my customers better? How do I know I'm making a difference? If I went away, would anybody care? How do I develop my business so much that if I went away, gosh, it would be a really big void. There would be something missing because we're making such a difference in people's lives. We are so relevant to people's lives, and we are so differentiated to those customers that there is absolutely no substitute for what I do and how I do it. And so we spent a lot of time dissecting that, talking about value propositions and stuff, and that was a fun one as well for me. And then last week, we spent some time on this one, which I believe my results are a reflection of me. I don't make excuses. We don't respect leaders who make excuses for every time there's something wrong. We respect those people who don't make excuses, right? We don't respect employees of ours who always have an excuse for why they did not accomplish what they said they're going to accomplish. So what if I said, you know what, I'm not going to be having a significant life and having, and having a lot of excuses. Those two don't coexist very well together. So the idea is I'm not going to make excuses. And then we kind of joked around with the idea of blame. not blaming others for the lack of results in my life, because every time we blame, we be lame. And so we joked about that and had fun with that. But that's kind of what we spent a lot of time last week talking about that. And that was a really, really fun one as well for me. And so that's sort of my best attempt at trying to be brief on a recap and catching people up. But now I want to just park on the next belief statement, which is, I believe it is better to focus on what I have to gain, not what I have to give up. And this sounds simple, but boy, I think all of us are guilty of that. We focus on what we have to lose. We don't focus on what we have to gain. And we're wired like that. I mean, that's a very natural human thing. More of us are focused on what we have to lose. So that's an important psychological hack, if you will, when we're selling, because sometimes we talk about, hey, you get this if you buy from me. But here's what you lose if you don't buy from me. Because that strikes us more. Studies have shown that. Like if I gave you $5,000 and said, okay, if you were my employee, if I gave you $5,000 and I said, I'm going to take that $5,000 away if you don't hit this goal. Or if I said, hey, if you hit this goal, I'll give you an additional $5,000. Or, the idea of like, I would lose something because the $5,000 I have in my bank account now feels real because it is real. It's in my account and you're going to take it away if I don't achieve. Like when I have something, the idea of losing it is really painful. Anytime pain is side by side with gain, pain gets the priority, not the gain part. We focus so much on what we have to lose that sometimes we lose life. We're so focused on and trying to hoard what we have. In fact, there's a story that I read, which I thought was kind of interesting, that there's a certain breed of monkey that when they capture them to put them in zoos, what they'll do is they'll cut out a coconut and put a small hole in there, just large enough for a hand of a monkey to go through, and they put beans, coffee beans that they enjoy eating, at the bottom of the coconut, and the monkeys will grab a handful of these beans, but now that they made a fist, they can't pull their hand out of the coconut. So they're trapped there until the people can come and capture them for a zoo. And all they need to do is let go of the beans and they could be free. But they won't let go of the beans. And I think that story relates a lot to us, as we don't let go of the beans. We are so trying to hold on, trying to hoard, trying to hold on to our old selves instead of focus on creating the new selves. I'm trying to so hard to hold on to the, and part of the transformation that occurs during entrepreneurship is we got to let go of our old selves. What you do and how you act at a $1 million in revenue is different than $5 million in revenue. So we change at every aspect of the business to get the best results. We have to change and we have to let go of the beans. And that is really, really hard for us because we don't want to lose what we have. We start playing not to lose instead of playing to win. We start playing it safe, thinking that that is the safest bet. But a lot of times we all know that when you play it safe, that actually is the riskiest course of action. And anybody who plays sports knows that. So how do we move forward? How do we focus more on the gain? That's hard for us. Also, sometimes that's hard because the gain is in the future. It is not something tangible to me today. And we want immediate gratification. I want the gain to be apparent. If I go to the gym today, I want to see results today, right? And I don't see results today, and that motivates me sometimes to not go to the gym. Or I want to eat, I got to eat better. And so I start eating better, but I don't see the immediate results. So, hey, what's one dessert going to hurt? So when we don't see immediate gratification, we tend to lose our motivation. And so it's easier to focus more on what we have to lose than what we have to gain. Some of us would, even though our situations aren't ideal, they aren't the best for us, we would rather have a predictably bad situation than a potentially better one, right? I could gain so much. But you know what? I'd have to give up what I know. And moving from knowing to unknowing scares the mess out of us. Like, hey, you know what? I know that things aren't ideal, but they're not that bad. So I'd rather have a known, I'd rather have a certainty than do something that just could, there's something that's going to be so different. Change is really scary. Change is a big source of stress. And so the idea, I'd rather have what I have. I don't want to change because what if I lost what I have? And that causes us to stay where we are. Um, and so one of the, and I don't know, I know we're all wired differently, so I don't know if this is even helpful to point this out. Um, but, there's been times where I have taken that leap of faith and thought I was doing the right thing instead of the safe thing, and it didn't work out like I wanted it to. So sometimes, yeah, if we say, I'm going to focus more on what I have to gain and less than what I have to give up, I'm going to embrace that belief system because that's more conducive to a successful mindset, to a growth mindset, to an entrepreneurial mindset. Sometimes it doesn't work out our way. But a phrase that I once wrote down that I go back to sometimes, like, yeah, I lost something precious, but I gained something precious. I mean, I gained something powerful by making that choice because now I learned something better about myself. I'm learning to become a better version of myself. Because if I keep believing that it's better to focus on what I have to gain, not what I have to give up, I am going to be a better version of myself. And here's what I know about happiness. The people who embrace that mindset will be happier than their peers who don't. Maslow has done a lot of research on this. I don't know if anybody, if that's familiar to a lot of folks. I'm assuming it is. I believe his first name was Abraham. I can't remember right now. I think it's Abraham Maslow. But he's basically responsible for the hierarchy of needs, the triangle that some of us studied for in psychology classes. But he said something that was pretty powerful, I thought, in his research. But it's if we plan to be anything less than we're capable of being, we're going to be unhappy. So you can focus on what you have to give up, and that may prevent you from focusing on the gain and doing the things to get the gain, but you will always, always be less happy because you are going to have that unfulfilled potential. I think it was Thoreau who said, most men live lives of quiet desperation and go to their grave with the song still in their hearts. And the number one regret of dying people is not, I wish I would have spent more time with family. That is up there, especially for men. But it is, I wish I would have lived a life that I wanted to live as opposed to the life I was expected to live. Unfulfilled potential is a horrible thing. If you knew you were capable of more versus, you know what, I'm going to leave it all on the field. I'm going to play really hard. And the only way to find out how good you are is to really give it everything that you have. Yes, you have to give up certain things to gain. You have to do that. Yes, absolutely. Put your chips on the table. But that's the only way I'll ever find out how good I can be. Some of us on this call has never run a company that's over $1 million. Some of us has never run a company that's over $5 million. We all have that point where, hey, I've never done that. You never will do that if you always focus on, but what do I have to lose? But what if this happens? What if that doesn't work out? What if I spend money on this service and it doesn't provide me what they promised? What if this? What if that? We can talk our way out of any situation like that. We can overanalyze to death versus, you know what? Or what's the cliche that I've always liked? You can't steal second with your foot on first. Sometimes like, look, I'm going to take second base. On the next pitch, I'm taking that base. I'm going to take that base. And I may get called out. I'll learn from that and I'll adapt and I'll adjust. But right now, that base is mine. I'm focused 100% on the base. I'm focused on what I have to gain. I'm not focused on what I have to lose. So one of the things that I wonder, and I guess a question to sort of ponder is, what are you missing out on? What are you missing out on by playing it safe? And what would the future you thank you for doing? In 2 years, your life could be completely different than what it is now. 2 years from today, we could have completely different lives, different businesses, different, different level of success than we ever imagined. But in order to do that, we have to say, okay, what's the part of me that I have to give up? What are some of these habits that I have to give up? What are some of the opportunities that I have to give up? What are some of the sacrifices that I'll have to make to get to that point? And we can allow that picture to keep us from doing that versus, yeah, but you know what? This is what I have to gain though. And that's more important to me than what I'm giving up. That future me is going to line up and thank me for doing this, because I am going to live a life that I never thought possible. And I am going to live a life, I don't want to go to my grave with unfulfilled potential, to not know what it would have been like. So I am going to go for it and leave it all on the field. And when you do that, one of the things that's super, super cool is, people respond better. They are more motivated. They're more excited when we are working and moving towards something as opposed to working on something, right? I'm moving towards something because we're gaining this. I'm so excited about where we're going. I'm pumped about tomorrow because look at this picture that we're moving towards. Versus, hey, I want you to work on this project. I want you to work on the monthly report. I want you to work on no, don't give me something to work on. Give me something to run towards. Give me that better life. Then I'm not as focused on what I have to give up because I'm too busy running towards something better. I'm too excited about where I'm going. So you got to give people something, that picture of what you have to gain. I think all great leaders have something in common, even though, you can pick them apart from, whatever your definition of great leader is. And they're so diverse. It could be in sports, it could be in politics, it could be in history, it could be in military. But all of them, I believe, were crazy about something. They were crazy about something. They were excited about something. They were more focused on the benefit, the gain, than what they had to give up. And there's been so many historical examples where great leaders have given up everything for what they were crazy about, because they believed that it was better to focus on what they have to gain than what they have to give up. So I'm hoping that some of this, I've got a lot more content on this. I know I've sort of been rambling for a while and get in my lecture mode. I always feel better when I'm talking to somebody as opposed to just talking at somebody, which I feel like I'm doing now. But I think that if you believe, if you embrace this belief, and if you write it down, and if you reflect on how what do I need to do to draw closer to that belief? Because maybe some days you do better with that belief than other times. But if you wrote that down, he says, okay, I'm going to embrace that. So let me focus more on what I have to gain and less on what I have to give up, because that's giving up part. That's okay, because I'm getting something so much better. I'm going to live a life that's so much better, and I'm going to give my people something that's so much better. One of the true joys that we all share in common on this call is we have the ability to give our team and the people that we're leading and inspiring the gift of unlimited possibility. We can give them that gift. But in order to embrace that gift and apply that gift and make that reality, we all have to give up something. And that's painful to give up. It's painful for me to change. And I got these old habits that I'm struggling with. And that old me keeps kind of trying to fight back. But I have to sort of say, okay, you know what? It's worth it for me to go through that sacrifice and that pain and that challenge, because what I'm gaining is so much greater and so much better. So with that, Mark, I guess I'll take a pause and just see what kind of questions we may have, if any, because I know that was sort of a mouthful.
No, I think we are thankful for your comments. Everybody's enjoying this. I know that for a fact. And I have asked to see if there's any questions or comments. I see some of them online. Any comments or questions, folks?
Yes, I have a comment. Hello?
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? I want to say, Chris, you are so right, because 2 years ago, I took a leap of faith after being laid off at a corporation for 18 years, and I never had entrepreneurship in my mind, but I ended up taking a leap of faith and doing it. And it turned out to be great. And actually, during this quarantine time, I'm creating another business and working on a not-for-profit. So I'm just taking that leap of faith, and it's been working out, but I rather take a leap of faith and try than not try at all. Because I don't want to come back 2 years later and say, oh, I should have, could have, would have. So I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, I also do agree. It's good to know that other people have the same thought process as you, because once to you is rambling, to me is education, to me is life. So therefore, I have a different onlook and an onset as far as focusing more on what I have to do. This is not something that I have to do this. I gotta do this. That's how important this is to me. I have to do this, because if I can continue to do the same thing and nothing happens, or do something different and change my brain, change my mind, change the way that I'm thinking, therefore I have no choice but to be successful in what I'm doing. So thank you. I appreciate it, man. This has been my golden ticket.
Yes, I agree. It's not rambling, because I take notes.
So thank you for those comments. And just so you know, this will be up in the GovSchool section. Just look under the video library. It'll be up there in a couple of hours. If you want to share it with friends, feel free to do that. Comments, Chris?
Yeah, just a couple. And I appreciate that. You know, I'm always worried because you can't read body language and things like that when you're trying to sort of get a point. And you don't know if you're going too far on a tangent or what, so you can't read the room. But a couple comments that I heard. Number one, I just love the comments that I just heard, that you guys are focusing. It sounds like you are focusing on more what you have to gain than what you have to lose, because like failure is missing an opportunity. It's not what happens. Like, I feel like failure is missing that opportunity. You say, hey, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. I'm not going to miss my shot, to quote Hamilton, and you're going to go for it. The only thing that I heard a little bit like earlier, the comment about, I heard the word try, which always scares me just a bit. And I wonder, it's more powerful. And the reason I'm sort of picking this apart a little bit is the most negative person in your life, if you're like most people, is you. Your negative self-talk, if you had a friend talk to you like you talk to you, they probably wouldn't be your friend anymore. We tend to have over 80% of our thoughts. We have about, depending on what study, over 10,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative, about 80%. So the idea is like, look, I got to stop listening to myself, and I'm going to start talking to myself so that I can increase my faith. And when I hear the word try, that almost gives you like a subtle permission for it not to work out. And if you just replace that word with, I'm talking to myself and I'm trying to conquer those negative thoughts, just replacing that with I will, or I intend, those are better words, because try almost gives you that psychological advice, like, well, it may not work, but I'm going to try. No, you will. I am. I intend for this to work. Those are much more empowering words that I think, that those little things, those little changes sometimes can have a difference.
No, you're totally right. Every morning I always say my business will flourish. I do have like affirmations I say in the morning to get me, to say I have to do this. I'm going to do this. I don't use the word try. I only used it just now, but but I do say something every morning to get me going, saying I'm going to do this. I have to do this. So I totally agree.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And the more specific you can get that, the better. Meaning like, okay, your business will flourish. So what does that mean for this week? I'm going to get 4 new clients this week. Let's go. I'm going to get 4 new clients. Let's go. I'm not stopping this week until I get my 4 clients. So the more, so translating that language also into specificity sometimes can help.
Okay. Thank you. I'll notate that.
We do that here at GovDirections, Chris. Every day we say we want to bring in at least 10 new customers or members every single day. And then once we get to 10, we go for the second 10. and then the third 10. So that's how we measure our success. We always focus on moving forward. And I know that you've got groups too that are meeting, and you sort of approach some of that the same way. And if anybody does have an interest in joining you, I have the email here for Chris online, and you email him and look at some of those more specific smaller groups that I think he referenced one earlier that's dealing with courage. Any final comments, Chris?
No, I don't think so. And I appreciate that. Yeah. Anybody who wants to reach out to me and just sort of like, I want to be a resource to the extent that I can. So absolutely feel free to contact me. So the contact information is on that PowerPoint there. But, you know, like I don't have any sort of final, I guess, compelling words of wisdom. You know, I'm struggling because I know this stuff sounds kind of trite sometimes, but what we do as entrepreneurs is the toughest job in business. There is no harder job in the world of business. There's no harder job. So I just really respect it a lot. Everything that you are struggling with and everything that you are frustrated by, it's very common. So you don't want to feel alone in that, because everything that you're doing has been done before. So I'm not really that smart of a person. I'm just got really good at copying what do successful people do. It's one of the benefits of Gov Directions. You know, you're not going to find a place that has more government expertise. So I don't need to spend a lot of time researching and studying about how government works and how to do business with government. When I have people, I'm surrounding myself with expertise and stripping years off of my learning curve by doing so. So I just say all that as an encouragement. You don't have to feel like, gosh, I'm the only one struggling with this. You're not. And whatever you are struggling with and whatever that is, there's an answer. We just got to get you around the right people who can give you an answer. So if you ever want to talk about something or you know, need help in pointing in the right direction, feel free to reach out. But Mark, I really appreciate you letting me do this. So thank you so much. And best of luck to everybody.
Well, thank you, and be safe today in your drive, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So everyone here today, as we conclude this session, just as a reminder, this is a service of Gov Directions, and you can come to GovSchool, and from our homepage, if you just choose at the top the library, you'd find these sessions. We had one earlier this morning on the Department of Justice and COVID-19 spending, and this afternoon session is on, of course, our Entrepreneur Series every Wednesday at 4:30. And like I mentioned, we will not have a session this Friday, but look forward to see again on Monday at 2 o'clock, and we'll kick off on the holiday week with that first session, and then Wednesday again, and then headed into the July 4th holidays. But I want to thank you for coming today, and if you do have any questions, reach out to us at customercare@govdirections.com. We'll be glad to help you. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.